think what we're going to see is every company on the planet, large or small, solopreneur all the way up to the enterprise, is going to have a custom AI that fine-tuned, if you will, or customized for departments. This is certainly just a marketing process. You could see a use case where you would season or add to or fine-tune the AI for customer service or for sales. Or if I added recordings or transcriptions of 100 sales calls into here. I mean, think about now I've got an AI that has this broad capability, plus it has 100 sales calls from my best salesperson on the planet.
Hello and welcome to the Perpetual Traffic Podcast. This is your host, Ralph Burnhams. I'm the founder and CEO of Tier 11, alongside my awesome co-host,
Lauren E. Petrullo, founder of Mongoose Media.
And we are very excited to have you with us today here because we've got none other than Russ Henneberry. You might know him from the digital marketer days, but you know, Russ has become a bit of I would say a specialist of specialists when it comes to, or a strategist. I actually read your page about like how your journey actually happened. You're a digital marketer refugee. You are the actual writer, the actual author of Digital Marketing for Dummies. Forget that Ryan guy. You are the guy who wrote it. And I'm just going to say that right here and now because we don't have to answer to Ryan Dice anymore because he doesn't listen to this show. The point is we've got Russ Henneberry here today from The Click. He is going to be talking AI and how to actually use it as a marketer. And that doesn't mean get the $20 a month subscription to ChatGPT and then call it a day. He actually has a way for you as the marketer to use AI and leverage it, and exactly how not to use it. Maybe use me as even an example of how not to use it. But very excited to have Russ Henneberry on Perpetual Traffic. Welcome, Russie.
Well, thank you, sir. Yes.
Yes, we might launch into a Sean Connery every now and then.
You do Sean Connery so much better than I do.
No, but you get the stump your feet.
Stomp your feet.
Yeah. For all of our Gen Z, like millennial people, they'll be like, what the hell are they talking about? Who is Sean Connery? Anyway, we'll have to talk more Sean Connery when we get it together in a week or two in Denver. But for those of you who have never watched The Untouchables, by the way, I don't care how old you are, one of the greatest movies.
Yeah,
you got to watch it.
Movie.
Yeah, you got to watch it. You got to watch it, and then you'll be doing Sean Connery's.
And watch the old Saturday Night Live, Your Mother, Trebek.
We're going to leave links in the show notes for that. He's as dead as Julius Caesar. All right. So anyway, today is not a Sean Connery impersonation day. Today, Russ, everybody's using AI, right? They all think, oh, AI is the best thing. I was on stage at Medi 2 days ago. This isn't like a humble brag. But it's like, they're like, what are you most excited about in marketing? And I was like, is it too overstated or too cliche to say AI? But it is. But most people aren't using it the right way. And I think you are one of those people that's attempting to teach marketers who think they know everything how to actually use it in the right way. Me being one of them who has not been using it in the right way. And I've been frustrated with it. But you're going to give us a masterclass here today on how to actually use it. And if people want more of what you got, we might even have a special offer for you PT listeners at the end of the show. So tell us what you've been up to, what you've been doing since the days of DM and liberating yourself from all those guys over there, the 3 R's, and doing things in the AI world and helping marketers worldwide. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been doing marketing for so long, and I didn't realize how bored I was, guys. Like with marketing, I was so tired of doing and teaching content marketing, SEO, and stuff. And so, I was pretty excited to see when a technology came along that literally could wipe us off the planet. That makes things more interesting. So I was like, I'm going to dive into this, because particularly like my specialty, if people know me and my specialty would have been like content marketing, SEO. So things that were very creative, right. And AI is a creative engine, right? Like, and it does amazing things. It went after the creative process first, which was bizarre. Like I think everybody thought it would go after sort of low level tasks, but it's actually come after the creative process. So I was like, I got to learn this thing. And so I've been all in on AI. I've been playing with it. I've been using it, and I got frustrated with it too. Like I was like, I'm not seeing the output here that I need to see for it to be useful. But I kept playing with it, I kept learning about it, kept reading about it, kept doing all these things. And what I started to realize was that the reason that we're not getting good results from AI is because we're using generic, off the shelf, $20 a month AI. And that's not to say that we don't want to use ChatGPT or Claude. We do. We want to use those generic, off the shelf AI. The trouble with just using it as it is that it knows nothing about your business. Like it slurped up the entire internet, so it's incredibly knowledgeable and capable, and knows a lot of things about marketing broadly. But what it knows nothing about is the business that you are currently marketing. It doesn't know the offers. It doesn't know the personas. It doesn't know the goals of the marketing. It doesn't know anything. It just knows broadly about things about marketing, and really everything else that we've ever created and put on the internet. It knows those things, but it doesn't know anything about the business. And when you take and add that content to the AI's brain or knowledge base, the results are astonishing. So the AI doesn't need to get better. It doesn't need to improve, even though it will improve, and the models keep marching on and getting smarter and smarter. What won't change is that you will still be working with a commodity, the same thing everybody else has got, until you learn how to season the AI or add to the AI's knowledge base the information that it needs to do its job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little bit of background. If you don't know who Russ is, I once had a conversation with Ryan Dice. If you don't know who Ryan Dice is, maybe you should Google him. But anyway, he actually said this in front of, I think it was like one of my first war rooms. They were like, what was the biggest contributor to your success at Digital Marketer? Like, what was the thing that did it? And he's like, no question, hiring Russ Henneberry. No. And the reason is that it was content marketing. And I don't think people understand how freaking good you are at this stuff. And when I say like, who's the best content marketer, I always point to you. The point is like, you've now taken that and then applied it to the world of AI. So we are not talking about some guy we just pulled off the street here. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Like, you are the world's authority from my perspective. That's the reason why you're on the show, because we only invite great guests. So there you go. You made the cut. And you do a damn good Sean Connery. So there's a second to that. Yes. But the point is like, I don't think marketers know how to use it. And we do this all the time. Like, I use AI, I use Gemini, I use ChatGPT for headlines and for copy and for writing emails. I love Grammarly. Grammarly's great on email. Like, it does clean up my grammar. It makes it sound a little bit better and all these other sorts of things. I look at that as AI, obviously. But I've been frustrated with the tools themselves because I have to do all these prompts, lots of refinement, and it never gives the output that I want. It still doesn't sound like me. It doesn't sound as good as if I just thought of it on my own. And I'm not trying to sound arrogant there. But the solution is that I'm looking at it the wrong way, because what ChatGPT and Gemini are doing, they're pulling from the entire internet. They're not pulling from like what makes me individual or Tier 11, or like if Lauren is doing something relating to Mongoose Media. The point is I think marketers are missing the boat on that. And you've got some ways in which to sort of solve to that problem, especially those people who have tried to incorporate it, knowing, yes, it will become a value accelerator. It will become a way for me to, to increase my output. But you also want that to be super high quality. So is that safe to assume that you've seen that as a trend?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same frustration that I had, and I mean, what we're seeing with AI right now, if you pay attention to the tools that are being built, for example, in any use case, what we're doing is we're taking the generic off-the-shelf AI that's been trained on an enormous data set and become broadly capable, right?
Right.
And then we take it and we fine-tune it after that for a use case. And that might sound like super technical, but it's the least technical thing ever. Like if you can attach documents to an email, for example, it's the same concept here, where we take documentation about the businesses that we're marketing and we add it to the knowledge base of an off-the-shelf AI. I'll show you this.
Yeah, let's get into it. So if you're not watching this as Russ gets his screen ready here, definitely check this out over on our YouTube channel. It's perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. And we're going to go through this sort of if you're walking the dog or you're at the gym or I don't know. Just
I'll keep in mind that some people might be on audio only, but this is a concept that I call an AI marketing hub. And if you think about, if you run traffic, for example, you might understand that there's, your business portfolio or your business manager. I might forget what they call it these days inside of Facebook, where you might have a central command center where you're working on ads for client A, client B, client C. My suggestion strongly suggests that you create an AI marketing hub. I can get into a little bit of the technical side of that, but it's this is not a technical process, a creative process. You create a hub for each business that you market. Yeah. And this is the hub for my company, for example, the Click. So inside of this hub that you're looking at here, which is really from a technical perspective, just a project inside of Claude. Claude has projects. And then over here we have ChatGPT. ChatGPT has custom GPTs. They are the same thing. They are a way of taking the off-the-shelf AI and giving it custom instructions or custom knowledge. Okay. So in the case of Claude over here, I've added things to its knowledge base. I've used 69% of its knowledge so far that it's able to hold up to 69% of.
Are you locking in on that number? Was that an intentional, stopping at that knowledge?
No, not at all. Not at all. Okay. No, and I don't know why you're saying that. But I add things like offers, for example. But these are just PDFs that describe the offers that I make at the Click. So I have several offers in here. I have things like my brand voice guidelines. So here's an example that is just a PDF document. And I actually use a process to create these brand voice guidelines too. The AI assists in creating a very thorough set of brand voice guidelines that I then add to the AI's knowledge base. And from here, I can now have conversations with these documents. But every time I speak to the AI, it is starting with the context of all my offers, my brand voice guidelines, things like testimonials I've put in here. Personas are super important, right? We also, we all know that having personas, in knowing who we're talking to while we're marketing is so important. Well, upload those things into the AI and your AI begins every conversation with the context of the personas, the offers, your brand voice, all of these things. You will be astonished at how much better the output is, how much more useful the AI becomes when it has all of this context inside of its knowledge base. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the question I have for you is, if you're not watching this, but we're looking inside Claude, which is a free tool. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or
it is free, but you need the paid version to use projects.
Okay. You need the paid version. Okay. So a small portion of your income to invest in this. $20 a month. There you go. I figured it was right around what ChatGPT is costing. So these rubrics, everything that you have in the project knowledge side, which is your large language model specific to the Click, is really in essence.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So have you created those using an AI prompt to pull from your website or from other places? Where did you actually get all these PDFs to feed into it? Because chances are, if you're listening to the show, you probably have a website, you probably have content, you probably have other things that can be uploaded here. And video, audio, written format, I assume, like how does that kind of work in order to be able to feed it into the project itself to make it smarter?
Well, you can absolutely use the AI to help you build things like personas, offers. You can go over to ChatGPT, for example, and have it go visit a web page and say, I want you to reverse engineer and outline this offer. And it doesn't have to be your offer either. You could go to a competitor and say, like, go look at this page and tell me everything about this offer. And I have processes for all of that I teach inside of the Click. But, you know, the short of it is a lot of us have personas sitting on our computer or have a process for building personas, or even just writing very, very basic information about what you're offering is going to be better than not having anything at all. Because what you described earlier, Ralph, is what we call the cold start problem. It is this idea that every time we go to start using AI, we have to start from zero. Like it doesn't know anything about what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish. When you work inside of a hub like this, that has not only all this information, but it also has the context of all the conversations that you've been having inside of this hub. Like it keeps that in its memory. You will be, again, the more you talk to it, the more you season it, like you start to think, what else could I give? And a good way to think about this, guys, is to think like, if I was working with a marketing consultant, what documents would I want to give that consultant? What knowledge would I want to onboard that consultant so that they could have the most impact for me as a marketer? Because what you'll see here is that inside of the project, I can also give it custom instructions. And you can see that the role I've given this hub is to act as a skilled marketing consultant hired by my business to achieve my business goals. And I've got some other instructions. All this stuff is in training that I give inside of the Click, but it really is just a set of sort of standing orders for this project to always be considering itself a consultant that is thoroughly familiarized itself with my products, with the things that I sell, with my personas, with my objectives, with my audience, all of these things. And then I give it all this documentation. I mean, if you literally just sit there and think, like, what would I want a human to know that I was paying to work on my business? And then you give that stuff to the AI. That is a good way to approach this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think, from my perspective, I'm thinking about like, who is this for? And, a friend of mine who I've known for years and years has a training company for marathoners over 50, I think, or it's middle-aged marathoner.com, I think is the name of his website. Nice shout out to my boy, Dan Line.
Yeah.
I always want to say Dan Lin, but Dan Line. The point is like, he is struggling with like creating marketing materials. He needs like a marketing consultant to help him. He needs to hire like a Russ Henneberry style person to kind of set him in the right direction and sort of take his business to the next step. Like, this is for that type of individual because he's got a ton of stuff, but it's like, what do you write next? Like, what should I do next? What should my next offer be after they buy offer A? Like those types of questions. And the only way that you can answer that is, you hire a marketing consultant and then we'll take, lots of time going through your site and trying to analyze your business. Or what you're really doing here is you're replacing that marketing consultant with this tool, which you probably already have all the information to be able to input it for $20 a month.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see is every company on the planet, large or small, solopreneur all the way up to the enterprise, is going to have a custom AI that in the largest organizations will be seasoned or fine-tuned, if you will, or customized for departments. This is certainly just a marketing process here, but you could see a use case where you would season or add to or fine tune the AI for customer service or for sales, or like if I added recordings or transcriptions of 100 sales calls into here. I mean, think about now I've got an AI that has this broad capability, plus it has 100 sales calls from my best salesperson on the planet, right? So it knows how this person speaks, how it talks, and then I take a junior level salesperson that I'm just hiring, and I take one of their calls, and I say, how are these two different? Like how can that's the way I want you guys to start thinking about AI, is like you have to be bringing your own quote unquote data to the party in order to get the most out of it. Like if we're looking at my screen here, if we demonstrate the difference between working inside of a ChatGPT marketing hub or a Claude marketing hub and working outside of it, I can start this conversation with Claude or ChatGPT. I can say, what kind of LinkedIn content could I create today for Sage? Now, Sage is a persona of mine, right? Now, if I ask regular Claude this, Claude's going to be like, I don't know who Sage is, brother. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to go from there.
Help me.
But when I ask inside the hub, it's going to go reference my persona, right? It's going to go and look at the Sage customer persona, and it's going to be like, okay, well, I've got a lot of context. I know not only who Sage is, so here's that persona here, and it's just a PDF. It's just a PDF document. It's crazy. Like we don't need to be like crazy coders or something to do any of this. It's literally just a persona in a PDF document that's been attached the same way you would attach it to an email. And if I ask it this question inside of the hub, it's going to be like, oh, I've got all this context, right? Like I know what you're selling. I know what your business goals are. I know who Sage is. And it's going to have a crazy impact on the quality of the conversation. You can see that it's like already thinking like to create content for Sage, right? So it's like, I know who you're talking to. I know what you're talking to. And just as a basic demonstration, right? Like this avoids this cold start problem where if you're just saying like, what LinkedIn content should I create today? Think about this. Like, what are you going to get from the boiled, like the commoditized version of AI? Right. You're going to get a good response, but probably not very useful, right? Not very usable because it has no idea. Like, why don't you talk about industry insights or trends? Why don't you talk about career advice?
Gee,
right?
Thanks.
And it's like, this is not useful or usable. Whereas
that's groundbreaking. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
This gets you to, it goes in there and it thinks like, okay, who is Sage? What is Sage's problem? Because that's inside the persona, right?
Right.
Like that is built inside of the persona. All the pain points of Sage are in here, right? So it's going to go and build based off of all of that. And so let me tell you, like, if you just get off this call, there's processes you can use to have AI help you build personas just by going and looking at web pages and stuff like that. You could just work with the ad, and you just attach personas. That's it. You don't attach your offers. You don't attach things like rubrics, which are really, really useful if you tell an AI, like, here's what we want our homepage to look like, and just give it rules, right? Like, and say, hey, and you don't attach things like brand voice guidelines, which super powerful when you do add brand voice guidelines. And again, you can use AI to build brand voice guidelines based on source material that you give it. There's process for all of this kind of stuff. Even if you don't do any of that, just add personas, just add the people that you're trying to reach, the who of your marketing. Like, because think about it, like that is going to give the AI, let's just say it can get you 50% there when it knows who the heck it's talking to and what their problem is. Like, I've always said to people that if you only gave me one piece of information, I had to go sell something to somebody, and you only gave me one information, it would be the pain. I want to know what's the problem, what's the challenge here, and then I can do a reasonable job of marketing anything, right? And of course, there's a lot more that I would want, a lot more information. But if you only gave me one thing, it would be who am I talking to and what's the problem?
Yep.
And so if you just give it that inside of its knowledge base, you will get so much better output. But again, this AI marketing hub process that I've developed gives it a whole heck of a lot more than that. And it's really, really powerful. Like to go through the process of building out your offers, your brand voice, giving it things like rubrics. I also have this, I think I have one of these here. This one looks crazy to you because the AI actually built it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've ever worked in copywriting and done copywriting stuff, you know that copywriting is a lot about talking about the before state of your persona, and then so empathizing with that before state, and then sort of future casting that after state if they use the product or the service that you buy. So that's a lot of what copywriting is. It's the articulation of
transformation.
That transformation from before to after, right? Well, I build out these matrices and I have the AI build this for me using the personas and the offers. I say, hey, if my problem is this, so I'm in the before state here, build out the rest of this matrix. And when I give it this into its brain, right? So I've got inside of Claude's brain, inside the hub here, I've got the matrix, this copywriting matrix that sort of describes what it feels like. What's that transformation? What's it like in the before state? What's it like in the after state? And when it starts with that, your copywriting output, and you add in there the brand voice, you add in there detailed information about the persona, the offer, all that stuff. It probably maybe makes a lot of common sense, right? That this is why those businesses that figure out that this game is about what data are we going to bring to what has now become a commodity, which is 24/7 intelligence that works at lightning speed.
Yeah.
That is what this entire AI game is about. It's about whether or not you're going to figure out what data am I going to bring into this AI so that I can get results, because everybody has access to the generic version. It's going to be, are you plugging in, what are you plugging in there to get this thing done? Because, and that's what businesses are paying consultants big bucks to do, is to figure out how to integrate things like their CRM into it. Or like, think about all of the different places that you could get data from, even inside of both of your businesses, Lauren and Ralph. Like there's data inside of that business that if you added it to the AI's brain, you're just going to get such better output. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. 100%. I mean, to start this show, we started off with marketers want to use AI, but they're frustrated that when they use the AI tools, it just comes out sounding generic. So it's like,
there's a specific term that you use where it sounds generic.
Boiled chicken, generic, which we love. I actually love boiled chicken, by the way, but that's a whole other thing. Just slather it with dressing. But the point is that like if you do that just on its own, like that thing, like who is your persona? What are their desires? What are their problems? Or like, don't even talk about their desires. Let's just talk about your avatar and then their problems. Like those are the basics of marketing just to begin with. And if we're not all doing that in advertising, and I think we've gotten so far away from that because there was a time in, maybe the mid 2010s where you could just put anything.
Get away with anything.
But it's reverted back now. So that the first thing, like when we let go of our marketing department, the first thing we did is we did a creative strategy framework, which is personas, pain points, and desires. The first thing that you need to have, and everything flows from there. So what you're saying is to sort of end around this, at least start there. And if you're an agency listening to this or you're a business listening to this, if you don't have that, I don't know what you're marketing to begin with, because you don't really have a whole lot, but you got to have that. And then that at least feeds the AI to be able to get an output that is consistent and or better than probably what you've experienced in the past.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lauren.
No, I was just thinking it's like you said, there's a cold start, or if you have nothing, just the pain point and the persona, it's like you're starting 20 prompts later in a conversation. And I think a lot of people that use AI, myself included at times, get so frustrated that you give up after like 7 or 8 times. Be like, no, that is not what I wanted. And so the bare minimum gets you 20 prompts further in the conversation. And to this capacity, you're like at prompt 50, prompt 60 out the get go.
Right. It avoids the cold start problem. And so if every time that you go to use AI, you're either getting complete useless stuff because it's just like giving you the broad answer like it did here where I said, what LinkedIn content should I create?
Career advice.
Total lack of specificity.
Yeah.
Just nothing useful there, right? But then you go inside of this hub, which, the more you add to it, the more you season it. And what's cool about this, again, is that if you have clients, you should build a hub like this for each client, right? So you take, and even if all you did was just upload your personas into each of those hubs and said, like, at least I'm starting every conversation with an AI that understands the customer, right? Like, again, if you just think about this as if I was going to hire a consultant or any marketer, right, to work on my business, maybe one of the first conversations I might have is who's the customer? Like, who are we selling to? But then you might want to add things like, what are we selling? Like, you might say, well, I'm selling, coffee cups or something. And it's like, well, let's get more detailed than that. How much do they cost? What's the offer? Do you do bundles? Do you have guarantees? Do you have payment terms? It'd be weird if you had payment terms for a coffee cup, but you get my drift, which is what are all of the different
gold coffee cup, maybe.
I'm like, let me Google the most expensive coffee cup in the world, right?
Coffee cup.
But, whatever it is you're selling, like the more detail you give it about what that offer is, it'll start with that information, right? And so you think about, like, what do we want to give it? And it becomes quite a fun process where it's like, wow, okay, like, so I have this new task today. Like, let's just say that you're sitting around, you're thinking, let's use ChatGPT for this example. So if I go into my hub for ChatGPT and I say, like, I'm thinking, I might ask it something more strategic, like about expanding into new markets. What ideas do you have? This is not a possible query for me to ask a generic AI, because it's just going to be like, well, I have no idea what you do, but here's some broad
how to make money online,
exactly.
how to be a business consultant,
but if
whatever's easy to do,
start
is easy
an
to
agency.
replicate.
Right.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
But if I ask my AI hub, right, it's going to be able to have a much better conversation with me, because it's got all of the context of what am I, and so I can't overstate the power of creating AI that is that has the context of whatever it is that you're working on, right? And really, the big ones in marketing are personas, offers, brand voice, marketing goals. If you just give it that stuff, like, you will be absolutely shocked by how useful it can be. And the one big thing I want to put on this is that this problem is not going to go away. It's not going to get better when ChatGPT 5 comes out or ChatGPT 6 comes out or 7. It still doesn't know anything about the company you are marketing. So we have to understand that this is a persistent problem, and there are going to be companies, maybe competitors of yours, competitive agencies, different things that figure out how do you use AI. And I'll tell you, the way that you use it is that you take these capable models and you build on top of it, very simply build on top of it, a knowledge base that is customized to whatever it is you're working on. You have to bring data to the party. You have to bring, and in this case, again, in marketing, the basics, offers, personas, marketing goals, things like that, maybe brand voice guidelines. Those are your sort of basics there. But I bet you if you start to play around with this, or if you take my AI Marketing Hub workshop, things like that, you'll start to see lots of different ways of leveraging this, like putting different things in place. But you can see the output here when I have given it this context. is going to be far better than if I went and talked to the generic AI, because it's just got that context.
Yeah. So to the next, the final question here, because I know our time is short, is once you get like the LinkedIn question that you asked, okay, you've put all this information in. It's pulling from that. I don't want to say it's a large language model, but it's a language model. It's a
lean language model.
A lean language model. But then, okay, the rise of AI-powered content creation, what freelance marketers need to know. Could you say, all right, now write me a LinkedIn post on that title, and what would the output be? Would there be a lot of refinement? Would there be a lot of Russ rewriting? Like, how close to the finished product do you actually get with this methodology?
Well, we can, I might say using my brand voice guidelines, which contain a lot of information about how I write.
Right. They sound like Russ. Right.
It says, make me sound like Russ. Using my brand voice guidelines, write number 2. So number 2 was the one you referenced up here.
Perfect.
The rise. And so I just tell her, write that second one. Now, is it going to get me all the way there? No. But it might give me a draft that I can pop over into Google Docs, which is essentially how I'm using it. And I really don't think, Ralph, that like where we're trying to get here for things like LinkedIn posts, for example, we want to get to a world where it's just spitting out your final work. That said, like what I do a lot is I upload transcripts of webinars I give and things like that. So it begins with source material. Right. So it is my thoughts. It's just that I delivered it just like you guys are doing via podcast. You can upload your transcripts and then you can say, what's some LinkedIn content you find inside the transcript? Yeah. Okay, here's 10 ideas. Cool. Write number 2, but use my brand voice guidelines. You're going to get yourself 90% there.
Yeah.
And then you can pop it into a Google Doc, make some changes. And think about it. That is your original thought. Just what we want to be doing when we're out on LinkedIn. We want to be demonstrating our expertise and so forth. And it's using your brand voice because you used your voice to create a set of voice guidelines. And then it goes and writes that based on what it knows about LinkedIn. So the process that I teach inside of the Click, where you go and you say, what are the components of a good LinkedIn post, right? Like, and I feed it that inside. In fact, I think inside of Claude here, if I look inside my hub, it's got a document that talks about LinkedIn guidelines. Like, what do I want from a LinkedIn post? Because I do use it quite often to, maybe I deleted that back out of here, but
you're leveraging AI to do QA before something is sent to your desk. And so if someone has a team and they're presenting stuff to you, you're able to react to something that is a near finished product, which at times it might be frustrating because you're getting something that you're like, why is this at my level? It didn't follow this brand voice standard. I never use boiled chicken. I use the word trash or whatever that type of is. It just saves. I mean, the compounded effect of saving time and yielding a better output is amazing.
It's incredible. And I encourage you to get started with it. I got to jump off, but and do another training. But I encourage you to just play around with this concept of creating context, getting it into some format that can be uploaded into an AI's project knowledge using projects over on Claude or custom GPTs over at ChatGPT, and then play with it. And you tell me whether or not AI starts to become a real efficiency changer for you and you're doing marketing work.
Well, this has been tremendous, and I appreciate the screen share here. Where can people connect with you, and do you have a special offer maybe for Perpetual Traffic listeners of how to get more of this goodness?
Yeah, so my site is jointheclick.ai. It's a membership where I'm just piling trainings like this into this membership. It's $348 a year. It's called the Click Pro. You can go to jointheclick.ai. And because you're listening to Perpetual Traffic, you can actually go to jointheclick.ai/PT. And there you'll find $100 off, which gets you down to $248 for the year. and you'll learn this AI marketing hub process from start to finish. There's so many cool things that we do with it, plus all the things we have inside of the Click Pro, which is the AI powered marketer course. And then all of these, I do these fun trainings that I call the AI marketing sandbox. I told you, like, I was bored with marketing. Now I'm so excited about it. Like, we do these things called the AI marketing sandbox, which is where we actually do marketing things, and things like we're playing around with there, like building out a LinkedIn editorial calendar or creating a lead magnet using AI. And we actually do marketing in the AI marketing sandboxes. They're always 45 minutes to an hour trainings where we have a specific task that we're doing that we always do as marketers, whatever, the different things that we do every day as marketers, and how AI can work into that, make you more efficient.
Well, that's
so.
tremendous.
Go to jointheclick.ai/PT. You'll see $100 off the Click Pro. And we'd love to have you in there. We're having a AI party in there.
The big AI party. Well, this is very self-serving because we just created our first content calendar ever for Tier 11. So my team will be using this and be cashing in on the $100 off. But make sure you check that out over at jointheclick.ai/PT. We'll leave all the links in the show notes here. Russ Henneberry, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on Perpetual Traffic. My guess is this probably will not be the last time, but this is probably like your third time, actually.
Yeah.
Way back when.
First with me.
First with Lauren.
Come back. It's first time with Lauren, and I have so much more to talk about with AI. So if you guys like this one, yell at Lauren and Ralph to get me back on again.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll leave all the links in the show notes here over at perpetualtraffic.com. Of course, leave a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And we are so appreciative. And make sure that you do check this out, the screen share for today over at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. But you already knew that. All right. So on behalf of my awesome co-host, Lauren E. Petrullo.
Ciao.
Until next show, see ya.